Did you ever watch a legend walk into a building and decide the night belonged to him before the ball even left the referee's hand? March 31st, 1998, United Center, Chicago. 10 games left. The Pistons of the future marching in with swagger. The Bulls of memory fighting to hold the throne. And Michael Jordan staring at Grant Hill and Jerry Stackhouse like a judge about to deliver a verdict. People had whispered that Hill was the next one. That evening, the real one walked out to settle the conversation with skill, patience, and a quiet storm. It did not start with fireworks. It started with control. Hill jumped a pass and turned defense into a sprint. The kind of runway he loved that ended with soft touch. The crowd murmured. On the next trip, Pippen floated a lob that missed its mark. Jordan snatched the loose ball in traffic and hammered it home, a two-handed stamp that said the clock had started. Then he went to work like a chess player who already sees the end game. Reverse spin, eyes on Longley, pocket pass, easy two. That was not a heat check, that was tempo control, and Detroit could feel the floor tilting. The right elbow became a quiet island that only he owned. Catch, pivot, rise, the familiar jumper that ignored hands and noise. Nothing flashy, only inevitable. Detroit sent a second defender, and the trap looked promising for a heartbeat until he slid the ball to Ron Harper for a smooth long two. Next possession they shaded early, so he fired a skip pass to a waiting Steve Kerr. Net. The Pistons learned that doubling a problem only doubles the consequences when the problem reads 3 moves ahead. Jordan was not only scoring, he was teaching angles in real time. He was not just scoring, he was shaping the air. A reach here, a bump there, a hand darting into a passing lane that had been open a moment earlier. Lindsey Hunter tried to rise at the rim and found a shadow that blocked daylight. The United Center leaned forward because the man at 35 was acting like a guardian of the paint. Hill answered with patience and craft, slipping into gaps with steps that stole time. He was not the fastest, yet his rhythm unbuttoned defenders. Jordan took the hint and drew contact on a drive of his own, trusting technique more than raw lift. Then came the moment that pulled everyone out of their seats. A step, a lane, and a lift that swallowed gravity. Bison Dell became a poster as Jordan soared and crushed a dunk that shook the floorboards. He smiled just enough to tell you the clock had moved to another phase. From there, he toggled control like a dimmer. If you sagged, he rose for the pull-up. If you crowded, he took one step and made you pay from 14. Detroit loved to run because youth loves fresh air. Jordan loved to run because old mastery loves a chance to remind youth who sets the rules. By halftime, the Bulls were up 15, and Jordan's box score read like a director's note. 12 points, 5 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, and dozens of decisions that bent the game. It looked headed for a routine Chicago night where a rival gets ushered out with polite applause. Alvin Gentry did not accept that script. At the break, he lit a fire, and Detroit came out with bite marks on their focus. Hill jumped lanes, pushed pace, and fed Stackhouse streaking down the middle. The gap shrank. The noise rose. The third quarter asked a hard question, and Jordan answered without blinking. He went right to that mid-range window with Hill and Hunter clawing at him and drilled it. Next trip, same area, different footwork, same result. The Pistons refused to fold, so he unfurled the fadeaway from the low block, the signature that turns defense into a reenactment. He did it directly in front of Stackhouse, the message delivered with no words. Pressure mounted, doubles arrived again, and again he fed Harper for breathing room. The quarter bled out and he beat the buzzer with another jumper that felt inevitable. Chicago recovered an 8-point cushion, but the fight was not done. The fourth began with a Rodman pass that begged to be stolen, but Jordan rescued it and manufactured a clean look that for him felt like a layup. Then the play that lives in Pistons highlight reels flipped momentum. Hill crossed Pippen so hard that the parquet looked tilted, then hammered a dunk that sent a jolt through the Re-Bata building. Detroit's bench jumped as if the past had been edited in a single cut. What followed was a test of nerve. Hill kept probing the low post, bodying Pippen, spinning, banking, and landing tough twos while Stackhouse slashed into daylight. Joe Dumars walked into a three that put Detroit up 2 in the last minute, a veteran note in a young melody. The Bulls needed a lifeline, and Jordan delivered not by forcing a hero shot, but by slipping a pass to Randy Brown, who drew contact and cashed both. Hill had a look to win it. It rimmed out, and the game tipped into extra minutes where legacies care about details. First possession, Jordan set Pippen's feet with a swing to the top and a quick return. Pippen rose and buried a three that steadied the room. Then Jordan, 35 years old, outran bodies that were supposed to be quicker, taking the bump in transition and earning free throws that tasted like command. Hill did not disappear. He kept pounding the paint, living in that 8 to 10 foot world where body angles tell the story. Yet Jordan's answer was the move that had turned the league into a classroom, the catch-and-shoot fade from the low block, pure as a drumbeat. The lead stretched to 5 and never came back. Detroit kept firing, but stops and free throws settled the argument. When the last seconds thinned out, the math was simple. Jordan's balance of control and aggression had taken the night back. Hill's line looked brilliant in the book, 26 with 8 assists, 4 steals, 2 blocks, and a stack of tough finishes, plus a crossover that emptied Pippen's stance. Stackhouse brought heat and slashes. Dumars brought poise. None of it moved the final answer. Jordan had scored when the floor demanded it and passed when the double spoke. He had blocked as a helper, slashed as a finisher, and orchestrated as a patient conductor. The meaning landed bigger than the win. This was not a grudge-soaked echo of the old bad boys. Those bruises belonged to another decade. This was a bridge night where the next generation tried to rush a handoff and the reigning monarch declined the ceremony. Chicago's roster was older, scuffed around the edges, but genius travels light. Jordan proved he could beat you with tools that still worked when the legs cooled. Footwork that turned space into clay. Pull-ups that bent time. Reads that collapsed traps. What came afterward sharpened the frame. Chicago walked into the 1998 playoffs with the steel that nights like this forge. Opponents swung. The Bulls absorbed. The story landed in Utah on a desert night where the last shot folded a dynasty into a single image. That felt like fate, yet fate is usually preparation, meeting a challenge at full speed. Games like the Pistons battle were the preparation, the rehearsals, where a legend studies every possible angle and files them for use. There is a temptation to remember Hill's crossover and pretend it was his night. It was a cameo in a production that Jordan directed without shouting. It was a reminder that talent can glitter while experience decides outcomes. Detroit had energy, youth, and belief. Chicago had answers. Stackhouse carved lanes. Hill navigated traffic. Dumars timed a dagger. The last word belonged to the man who made the right play until the scoreboard said, "Thank you." That is what destruction looks like when done with a scalpel rather than a hammer. If you want to know how the new school knocked hard on the door and the old master opened it with a calm grin, watch that tape. Watch the elbow jumpers that refuse to blink. Watch the passes that punish greed. Watch how a tired team looks fresh when the best player refuses to play tired. Then listen to the silence in the closing minute, that little pause between a bounce and a breath where everyone knows who owns the night. He did not shout. He simply executed, possession by possession, until belief cracked and the game drifted where he wanted.